Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to add a new enemy type to the OG Roguelike Mobile Kit. First of all, we have to go into the project and settings, into the gameplay tags, and add a new tag. Here I'm going to add the skeleton bomber, which I'm going to create. Then we have to go into data, game, and into the curve table enemy stats. So for this we're going to need the gameplay tag again. So go back to the project settings and copy it. In the curve table we're going to create two curves where both begin with the tag, and one curve has health and the other covers the damage. Make sure to add appropriate values for the health and the damage of the enemy you want to add for each of the 10 levels the enemy can have. Let's speed it up a little bit. Alright, I'm finished here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to make sure that a skeletal mesh, and if you need it also a static mesh for the enemy, are added, and also make sure to have some animations done. As you can see here, I've already made a few for the skeleton bomber. And also a blend space. I like to use a 1D blend space, which only shows the speed basically. And you can create it by going into animation and legacy. Alright, so the next thing is to create the animation blueprint for the skeleton bomber. For this we can duplicate, for example, the one of the golem and give it an appropriate name. The first thing here is to change the preview mesh, and then only we have to do two changes. First is to set the idle animation sequence, and the second is to set the blend space. And these are basically all animation changes we have to do here. If you haven't made animations for your enemy character yet, you can go into the test map and check out the level sequences in the animations folder, which show the animations and how they were created, basically, because all character animations in the kit I've made inside the Unreal Engine on this test map. Well, to be fair, the humanoid animations only. Alright then, let's continue by creating the character blueprint. For this we go into the melee folder and create a child blueprint of the melee enemy, because the skeleton bomber is going to be a melee enemy only. For this I'm going to copy a few settings from the skeleton swordsman, because it's the same character mesh, so I'm going to use the same collisions and locations and transforms in total, basically. Also, if you want something like a fake projectile to be shown in game, set it to visible, select the mesh you want. I'm going to select the bomb here and copy these attached to component nodes from one of the enemies to your blueprint. Make sure to set the correct socket name, and this allows us to position the fake projectile exactly as we want in the viewport. This way it looks exactly like it would in the game. For this bomb I'm also adding a fire Niagara system because it looks cool. By the way, everything I'm using here is also included in the kit. The skeleton bomb and the bomb too. Next we're going to assign the tag we've created previously, and yeah, I'm going to copy a few settings again, but basically you can choose the XP you want to give, the melee range, the cooldown, uh, death sound, the death animation and stuff. The skeleton bomber doesn't use any weapon, but if yours does, you can attach its actor component here. Alright, next I'm going to set up some logic. I'm going to override the melee rotate to player method. Basically, the skeleton bomber goes to the player and just explodes. So we copy some of the nodes from the melee enemy and connect it to the event melee rotate to player node. Also, I'm going to override the start melee attack method and just perform a simple melee attack, which I'm also overriding, and that's just dealing radial damage and not doing any different things, basically, which would be done in the melee attack method usually. And obviously the actor we are going to ignore is the skeleton bomber himself. After the skeleton bomber explodes, it obviously should have an explosion Niagara system. And finally we're going to destroy the skeleton bomber. Yeah, and that's basically most of the character logic here. I'm just going to add a few comments. Just as a reminder, this skeleton bomber is already included in the kit. Compile and save. Next I'm going to show you how the AI logic is set up. So basically we first go into the AI controller and then into its state tree, which is the base ST melee enemy. Alright, so the state tree consists of two stages. The first one is move to player. It basically just checks the distance between the AI and the player and moves to it. And once it's close to the player, it continues to the next state, which is the melee state. This one is a linked state, so basically it's linked to a different state tree which gets called, and the state tree here is the ST melee attack. That one basically just calls a task which calls the start melee attack node, and that node is the one we've overridden in the skeleton bomber character blueprint. Alright, so you probably would need to create your own state trees or stuff, or logic. Basically, I don't know which type of character you would make, but that's the structure of it. So next we're going to look at creating the data asset for the skeleton bomber. For this I'm going to duplicate the one of the skeleton swordsman, change the name and change the tag first, and then we're going to change the preview title, assign the class we've created, and the mesh is going to be the same, and the other things as well. Alright, let's go into the map. So the first thing we're going to do after the character basically is done now is to test it. So I'm going to duplicate the one of the spawn markers in level 1 and assign the data that we've created. The enemy level is still 1. And alright, let's go into the main menu, press start, and now it should be spawned here. And as you can see, we have a skeleton bomber and it exploded on contact. But a thing that's missing is damage. So let's check the logic here again. Oh yeah, now I can see the problem. The damage radius is 0. Let's put it to 100 and start again. Now the player should receive some damage or take some damage. Yeah, okay, perfect. Alright, and that's it for this tutorial. I hope you have all tools now to create your own cool enemy character. If you still have questions left, I'll put them below this video into the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Also, if you want one-on-one support, you can feel free to join the Discord server. The link is in the description and also on the shop page. And thanks for tuning in. See you next time.